But two of the killers simultaneously hold him up and jab him. You know what I'm talking about? They jabbing him. I think they each hit him 4 times. So that's 8 stab wounds to the midsection. But all those things aside, now I have to get into the spoiler section, right? So I'm talking about things that occurred during the movie, and I'm gonna go in with the positive and then we're gonna move into the negative. So spoilers from this point forward. Sam, that character, Miss Berea, I want to say I really like the mechanic that they're using to connect her to the original movies, having her be Billy's daughter, having Billy, a de-aged Billy, show up and talk to her throughout the film, just random little times. I really like it. It's a connection that does not involve Sidney Prescott. You can move this franchise forward just a little bit longer without using Neve Campbell or even Gale Weathers. You can continue to have this slight connection, and it's good enough for me. I like this mechanic. I like it a lot. It shows up here in the beginning, the middle, the end, and each place feels appropriate. It feels as though Billy, even though he's a killer, he's crazy in the head, he's giving his daughter some sound advice, especially toward the end. I like what he had to say toward the end, just telling her like, hey, this is not safe. Like, trust your instincts. Let's go. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed his appearances and his pop-ups and that connection to the first. In the beginning of this movie, I thought that it would be very, very different. Maybe that's why I'm kind of left with those feelings of it not being as fresh as I wanted it to be, because it started off with such high hopes. The beginning of this movie, they open up and they have a classic kill in the beginning, you know, that kill that sets the tone for the movie. And it happens just like it would in any other Scream film, but then the killer's face is revealed. In this case, it's Tony Revolori. He shows up. He's the guy who played Flash Thompson in the most recent Spider-Man trilogy of movies. He shows up. He's the killer of the first initial kill. And my initial thought was, yo, they're going to do something different with this one. We know who the killer is as the audience, but then it's going to be subverted and the characters are going to have to figure out, and we're going to be able to see the little hints and the little nods throughout watching the movie. I was like, oh, this is so great. This is cool, man. I like this. But that rug is quickly pulled up from under you and he's killed. And I was like, okay, all right, where we going? And where we ended up going was right back to the normal Scream format, which is slightly disappointing, slightly disappointing. Now, talking about the movie in spoilery fashion, I have to say that the setup of the movie and the execution of the movie is fine. All the acting is good. The direction is good. There are no shots that really stand out as like, oh, this is an amazing scene or anything like that. But it is a fun little ride to go on. The problems with the movie that I have and the feeling of it not being fresh, it comes from that third act. So getting into the setup of the movie, we have the overprotective big sister because of the trauma that they just went through. She's doing all she can to protect the sister. That creates some animosity between the two. They have some arguments. The plot moves forward. You get your cast of suspects and your cast of victims, like everybody's set in place. And as the movie progresses, it progresses just like any other Scream movie. You're getting your random kills and you're getting the finger pointing at who could be who. And then when you get to the third act, then the bodies really start dropping. I start to feel like, yo, we've been down this road quite a few times and it's unfolding the way it always unfolds. And in that fashion, we have to talk about the plot armor that is surrounding so many characters that should be dead, right? So we're in the third act here. Gale gets attacked. Gale Weathers, the character and the actress, is in her 50s or 60s in real life and in these movies. There's no way that she should go through everything she went through with Ghostface. She was slashed like 2 or 3 times, stabbed in the upper chest, stabbed with a big shard of glass in the abdomen. Like, what are we doing that she's still surviving? I don't like it. I know that you want to have some type of connection to the original, right? And there's no guarantee that Neve Campbell, Sidney Prescott, will be reprising her roles in any future films, because that's a monetary situation. The studio feel like we don't need to pay her. At the same time, she feels like I made Scream. When you see my face, you think Scream. Everybody's right in this situation. But what I have to say is Gale shouldn't be surviving all this stuff at this point. she needs to die. Like, she should have died to those wounds in this movie. The fake death, I rolled my eyes so hard because I'm like, she's not getting axed out. As long as Courtney Cox is alive, she'll be down to show up in these movies, and that's going to give them a reason to keep her surviving so we can have some type of connection to the first. Or we can eventually kill Gale Weathers off in a much more ceremonious fashion down the line. Regardless, I didn't like the fact that she lived. Talking about two other people who should be dead, Mindy and Chad should both be dead. Now listen, they were some of my favorite characters coming out of Scream 5. I really liked Mindy, the fact that she is basically her Uncle Randy. They do the same little diatribes about movie rules and the horror genre and all this stuff. That's cool, but let's look at things, right? Full spoilers. We're talking about who's the killers. So the roommate, who is also plays Spider in Avatar 2, that guy is one of the killers, as well as one of the other roommates. I think her name was Quinn in the movie, and the lead detective that you're working with throughout most of the movie. I was suspicious of him, and I was also suspicious of Kirby, but more so him than Kirby. But I still didn't guess that he was as involved as he was. Moving along, Mindy gets stabbed on a train twice in the abdomen, presumably by the male roommate. I don't even remember his name. I think it was Ethan. She got stabbed by Ethan or Quinn. I don't know who she gets stabbed by, but she gets stabbed twice on the train. Now, at the time of the movie, Mindy is separated from the rest of the crew. Why not kill Mindy? Like, there's no reason why she should have survived that encounter. She should have died in that encounter. The only reason she was alive, the only reason she took 2 stab wounds and made it to the platform and got out of there is because y'all want Mindy to show up in a future film. That's all. Plot armor, just all the way wrapped around her. She can't be touched. Well, she can be touched, but she'll survive because we want her around. Chad. Poor Chad should have died in the first one, or in his first appearance in Scream 5. Like, we all thought he died then. He got stabbed multiple times. It was pretty bad looking. He shouldn't have made it. He makes it. He's in good physical health still. The way they get Chad in this one is worse than they got him in the last one. Like, how is Chad still surviving? I think Chad got stabbed in the back, and then the 2 killers, because there's 3 total, but 2 of the killers simultaneously hold him up and jab him. You know what I'm talking about? They jabbing him. I think they each hit him 4 times. So that's 8 stab wounds to the midsection. And at the end of the movie, last minute, they roll Chad's body out on a stretcher when he should be in a bag with a tag on his foot. He shouldn't be alive. I don't like the fact that he went through all that he went through and still gets to live. The only reason you want him alive is because y'all started this law idea in this movie called the Core 4. You want the Core 4 to be in the next film. And I don't like it one bit. I can't stand the fact that he survived. I feel like that is a useless thing to put your audience through, seeing this dude get gruesomely attacked and he's fine, he'll make it. Ultimately, the feeling of this movie not being fresh, or the feeling of seeing a movie that's unoriginal, it really stems from this ending monologue where you get the dad, who is the police officer. He is the dad of the previous killer from the previous movie. I told you we're talking about it. We also have the male roommate and the female roommate, all 3 killers present. And they're breaking down the connection to the past, and they're going through it. And it just feels like at the end of every one of these movies, we go down this road. And with the way this thing started, I had a few expectations, not from trailers, but just from the start of the film. I thought that we might be doing something different here. And by the time you get to the end, we've hit every trope that we normally hit in a Scream film. We've gotten the real life to film comparison with the rules. We've gotten the main character seemingly on a hunt for the killer. We have detectives involved. We have Gale involved. We have so many pieces that always pop up, and we get this explainer, and it's the same silly explainer, and it's the same outrageous connections that we just got last year. I was hoping that we could really subvert things and do things differently, but it does not feel like they are going to do that. They will continue to go back to the well. As long as these make money, they're gonna pump them out until that money declines. And in my opinion, I think the money will decline with the next one, because I feel as though they're going to have to do something outrageous to continue to create or fabricate this connection. I'm not saying I didn't like the movie. I thought the movie was good. The movie was fun movie. But man, we just did this though. We just did this in January of 2022, and it is currently March of 2023. There's not much different between those movies. Even in this film, because it's so meta, it's so self-aware, they talk about franchises surviving by subverting the genre. But you really didn't though. You really didn't subvert the genre. You really didn't change things up. You did what you always do. You made the killer connected to another killer or something, and you had this outlandish explanation, this outlandish, crazy monologue about how these characters felt so much for this previous character, and how you, the main character, Sam, never met your boyfriend's family, never heard their voices and don't know their stories and just all that stuff. Like, you don't know any of this. You're not aware of any of this. You don't know his original hometown. You don't know where he's from. You don't know what his dad's occupation is. You just never connect the dots. And listen, I understand things have to happen so we can have a movie, but just don't feel like a fresh, original, good movie. Feels more like a fun time, good fun time. And that's all I have, y'all. If you feel differently about it, if you think I'm nitpicking about the plot armor stuff or anything, you disagree with any points, please let me know in the comment section. I appreciate you if you watched this much of the video. I know this one was a longer one, but we got to talk about it, man. We got to talk about why this thing is what it is. I hope everybody utilized those chapters in the description. Jump around the video, see what you want to see. Enjoy yourself. Guard your heart. Go watch something good.